TvP. So I've gone over my TvP in depth, and I would like to do it again sometime, because I think I can get even better detail on that matchup and that opening. But let's see what this guy's got going on. So he's a Gold League Terran playing Wings of Liberty. Oh, cool. So this is the Wings of Liberty version of the beta map. So we've got a nice 34-minute game from Fwubajuba. Starts out with a 10 depot at the wall. Good stuff. And a barracks. And I think we'll be seeing a gas just because of this placement. Maybe it was off-placed because of the probe. Let's see. Nope, that's where he wants it. So he's doing a kind of a fancy wall-off. It looks like he's going to use a add-on to block the ramp. I don't like it very much. I think you want your add-on to be safer. In fact, I know you want your add-on to be safer. Especially a tech lab researching STEM or something, you want it to be in your base so that it can't be picked off by any type of aggression that can happen, from Void Ray to Gateway All-Ins. So we've got an pretty not so good looking build order, at least not optimized for anything, because we've got a double gas before the expansion. And there's no SCV scout. So I'm not sure what the thinking is behind this, but we'll be soon to see. So gas is stockpiling and not really being used, and there's no scouting info, and we're teching up to barracks. So basically the build order was just a mistake. These gases were taken a little bit too early, and this is just a little bit overkill. It's kind of unnecessary. It's fancy, but it doesn't really help you. It's better just to wall off with a barracks and 2 depots, and then put your tech lab up here. Alright, I like a couple quick eBays, and I like getting some add-ons is fine. So Terran is gearing up for a longer game. Perfectly okay. And it is indeed a 3-gate pressure. So what should happen here is this bunker should unload, and these SCVs should surround these units. And this is not enough to be cost efficient against what Terran has right in the natural, even with the investment in upgrades and add-ons. So Terran should just send everything to defeat this attack, and shouldn't lose too much. Don't forget that SCVs are fighting units, and when they're on attack move, they have Protoss units attack them. I don't know what their exact attack priority number is, but they're going to soak up damage. So don't be afraid to use these SCVs to fight with, to clean up this type of stuff. And yeah, so it finally gets cleaned up, and somehow Terran still has a worker and supply advantage. So the next tech we need to see is a factory. And now you're beginning to see the problem with these 2 eBays is that the +1/+1 is going to finish and the armory is not even close to being done. So that's, I'm just pointing out an inefficiency in the build. If you got 1 eBay, research +1, then research +1 attack, or plus the other +1, then by the time the second upgrade finishes, you can have an armory done to just be a little bit more streamlined, so you don't have this dead air on these eBays. Armory is good. If you're going to get this much tech on just on 2 bases, you need to get your gases really quickly so you can support it, because you're going to need to be building medevacs and getting these upgrades, which costs a lot of gas. This is awesome. Taking the tower is really good. The earlier you can do this, the better, but better late than never. +2/+2 is started, and the factory is being sent out to scout, so that's good. Harvester production's been pretty good. Terran got the next gases and is adding a 3rd command center. So despite having a pretty rough around the edges opening, getting those gases at an awkward time, getting these eBays a little bit kind of too quickly, the timing was okay, but not for 2. Terran still has a good idea of what he wants to do and what he wants his mid-game to look like. So he's playing a good idea-based opening, and that's awesome. So the second starport is based on probably a scan that I didn't see. Hopefully some sort of vision of Colossus or robotics, or even an observer can trigger this second starport. 2 barracks normally go up before the second starport. Not always, but almost always. Orbital going down. So, yeah, aside from a few build order inefficiencies, pretty strong so far macro-wise, relative to Gold League. Like, pretty darn not so bad. Now, my biggest problem is this. Army just sitting in the natural. Because Terran armies especially, and this goes for like any unit you build, but Terran armies especially are very good at extracting value just by being on the map. There's little things Terran armies can do, like pick off pylons, pick off units and probes, and scouting zealots, and observers, and bases, and just being really active. It gives you a lot of opportunity to get ahead just by being on the map. So it is kind of painful to see all that potential lost by being at the natural. And there's negative potential too in being out on the map. You can get caught off guard and lose your units. You can be attacked and not have units at home to defend. But that's where playing StarCraft comes in. That's like the actual game of StarCraft. And that's what you really need to improve if you're in these lower leagues. Focusing on a build order is great, and learning a build order is great, and having some ideas about your composition is really good, but the main thing you want to think about for improving your StarCraft play is, what can I do better with my units that I have? How can I use them to extract more value and to get ahead and to beat down my opponent? So I would say what I would do if I were to take over this game right now in this position is I would move out with my army. I would take these 2 center watchtowers and sit my army down here. And then I would probably scan and decide what to do, whether to attack the 3rd or to do a couple drops, or, you know, these gateways are kind of vulnerable depending what I see from Protoss. If he's got a big army, maybe I can't do any sort of aggression, but you can pretty safely roam around and get value out of this stuff. So we've got all of our tech lab upgrades, got the second starport, and Viking production. Without a whole lot of intel, we don't really know what Protoss is doing. We've seen some cannons, no real scouting on the third base. So I would be pretty kind of uncomfortable playing in this position because I have no clue what's going on the map. There could be an army right here. There could be bases all along the right side of the map. There's just not a lot of info. Okay, so the third goes down pretty well. Terran is keeping his money pretty low, pretty impressively low for Gold League. And we need to see a big transfer over to that third. Nice, hefty, healthy number of SCVs. But still, my main point is kind of still the issue. Not a lot of unit activity. But like everything else looks good, you know? Maxed out around 17 minutes. Sure, that's not terrible. Ghost Academy would be good. Okay, awesome. This is really good. This scan. Where does this happen? So you can kind of tell, like, this scan is something that really shows the thinking of this Terran player. He's maxed out, and he's ready to kind of start playing the game, start using his units and doing stuff. I want to see this scan. Okay. So now in his thought process is, what does my opponent have, and how can I go attack him and win this game? And that process needs to be simultaneous with the macro side of StarCraft. You have to be macroing and trying to get ahead. But it's easier said than done. And another scan. That's excellent. A note on scanning. I don't like to do it early, just on principle. I don't like to scan before 8 or 10 minutes because I really need those minerals. Every scan early on slows down your production. It slows down your army, and it takes power out of your army just directly. It slows down your upgrades, slows down your macro. But once you get to a point in the game where 270 minerals isn't really going to have an impact on your production, it's very valuable to start using your orbital energy for scans instead of mules. And for me, that point of the game is about 10 minutes when my first medevacs pop out. That's when scans can really give me opportunity, and that's when I'm looking to gain an advantage with my units. But better late than never. You got a lot of minerals. It's perfectly good to start scanning instead of dropping mules. And Terran is going to proceed to attack. Waiting for 3-3 seems pretty reasonable. Okay. So Terran basically got caught off guard. I don't think there was a lot of warning that this was coming. And Protoss is going to lay down some Psy Storms. The Vikings were out of position. So it looks like it looks like Terran was planning some sort of an attack, like dropping over here, landing Vikings back here, and attacking here. And that's an excellent plan, that sort of attack. But as the way it happened is a huge engagement happened with 10, like 30 supply of the Terran army not fighting. And Protoss has got his entire army fighting. And that's a Terran disaster. So this drop happens, and these Vikings happen. They kill some Colossus. So what should you do if you're playing a game and you look up at your resources and you've got 5,000 minerals? Like, there's a lot of stuff going on because you've got your army and you're trying to win the game and you kind of get distracted, your money gets high. What are you supposed to do in that situation? It happens to me quite often. And the lower you are as far as league goes, the more often it's going to happen to you. But what you should do is throw down a ton of command centers and a ton of barracks. Just get that money down any way possible. Extra supply depots, suicide a bunch of your SCVs. Just spend money any way possible, because it's better to have extra depots than it is to have extra minerals. Like, at least the depots offer you something. Like, if you lose some depots, you're not going to be capped. Alright, so now Terran's rebuilding his army. Still has a lot of SCVs. At this point, you really need to start burning some, because they're not really helping you, helping your economy. A couple command centers is great. Could have happened a bit earlier. So this Terran's got a pretty good idea. Like, he's got a lot of good ideas. You know, the three-pronged attack is a great idea. His composition and the overall look of his build order was very good. And, you know, like, even here, just throwing down command centers, expanding is really good. But it all needs to happen a little bit faster. And that's just a natural part of improving. You don't, you know, hop into a game and do everything perfectly. But you want to, you know, push yourself to do each step as fast as you can. And that's a huge part of becoming a good StarCraft player. It's just doing exactly that. I would say there's two, like, when you're playing a game of StarCraft, half the game is just doing your own stuff, doing the stuff you need to do. Macro, take expansions, build an army. And the other half is beating your opponent and interacting with your opponent. And they're interrelated, of course, but usually what you want to focus on is the stuff that you can do at home to improve outside of the game. And then when you're in the game, that's when you don't want to think about that stuff and just try to outplay your opponent. So your build order is all sort of pre-planned. Alright. Not a great attack here, as far as micro goes, because the bio was in melee range before they started firing, but it's a very good choke, and the Vikings are in a great spot. So, I mean, thumbs up for that, thumbs down for the kind of late firing. And we can land those Vikings. And a drop in the main at the same time is awesome. Very nice. Yeah, not so bad. Not so bad at all. I would say Terran probably won this game just by playing one step further in the expansion battle. In the expansion, you know, Protoss engaged pretty well overall. Maybe even better. That first engagement was pretty terrible for Terran. The second one was pretty bad for Protoss, but Terran kept expanding and Protoss really didn't. And there you go. There you have it.